Hello my loyal companions and welcome back to the channel. Now every once in a while I do change my settings up within Rogue Company just to add a little bit more spice or flavor or fine tune something that I'm having an issue with. And I've been having a lot of issues with sticky aim recently in the past couple months, but I found a way for me that fixes it and I feel a lot more comfortable on this sensitivity that I'm going to show you here in this video. So if you're looking to know what I use for my best FPS optimization, my best sensitivity and my best overall settings for different gameplay options, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video. And if you do go on to enjoy, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel for even more content. For now though, let's get into it. Starting off then with our display settings, these are what I use for my optimal FPS. I put it on windowed full screen mode, which actually isn't optimal for FPS. If you want optimal FPS, then full screen mode works, but I like to have it on windowed just because when I'm streaming and tabbing in and out of different monitors, this stops a flicker that can occur by having it in full screen mode. Put your resolution up to whatever your monitor is, VSync turned off, brightness turned down to whatever's comfortable for you, save frame at 100%, and now we get on to colorblind mode, which in this game does not seem to matter really, as in with other games like Fortnite, it could give you a distinct advantage. There doesn't seem to be one here in Rogue Company, so none or whatever your preferred colorblind mode setting will do. Quality settings though are going to be where you control your FPS, so you can optimize it based on whatever system you have. If you have a beastly PC, you can run everything in Ultra, but even then I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But these are going to be my settings that I use that give me pretty good stability in Rogue Company. View distance I have as low, and I've debated having this up higher or lower, but really it doesn't seem to make any difference depending on what I put it as, and so just rendering a few less chunks may be better, so I have that in low. Shadows is one I've recently changed to medium because you can actually see some shadows really distinctly, sometimes even the hint of shadows over walls by having this on medium as opposed to low, which I've normally recommended. Anti-aliasing I have at medium purely to remove some of the jagged edges around character models because I don't like the look of it. Textures I have at low. Visual effects I have at medium because this helps with some skin clarity, not anything necessary for in-game to make it better, but just I paid money for the skins and I want them to look nice, and so I have them on medium so I get at least somewhat of the quality that I've paid for. Post-processing and foliage, as in trees, are also on low. Again, these are just for optimization of FPS, but running my settings on this gives me a smooth 150 frames per second on my particular PC. You may have to adjust some of them even lower, but this is a pretty good bare minimum for you if you want a nice looking game without it tanking your FPS. When it comes to audio settings, this is really preferential depending on what you choose to have. I personally have my master volume 100. I have my music off because I don't really like to hear it in game nor feel much of a need for it. My sound effects, I'd make sure I have a sound that I can hear them, because sound effects are things like your footsteps, the bullets, and all the things that you need to register sound information within the game. So definitely make sure this is at a volume that is beneficial to you. Voice chat volume, again, all preferential depending on what headset you have and things like that. My voice chat I do have on, depending on if I want to talk to people or not, whether I want push to talk on, etc, etc. But with the mute mode, I actually would recommend going to the final setting of voice, quips, and comms, so that if you do choose to mute someone who's being annoying with spam pings or being obnoxious in the voice chat, you mute everything from them and not just only one or two of the options. Then when it comes to 3D headphones, I never heard anyone really using these, nor do I think they're going to be much of a benefit. So unless you have a headset that supports 3D headphones and you want to use it or use it regularly, then you may want to turn that on. If not, off is absolutely fine and is the optimal way to play the game. Controls, though, are going to be where most of you find your interest here in this video, and in terms of the movement-based things, hold to crouch, hold to sprint, and auto shoulder swap, I have them on off. If you're a new player to the game, you may want to turn auto shoulder swap on. This may just help you understand a little bit about that shoulder swap mechanic because it is so vital to the game. I will breeze over my mouse sensitivity. I do not play it on mouse and keyboard, so this is not going to be too beneficial to any of you, but when I do play, I run on this and sometimes it's okay. Controller sensitivity though, these are the things that I use as a controller player. My specific controller is an Xbox Series Elite 2. I do not have any bindings changed within it, nor paddles equipped, although I will talk about what I recommend for paddles later on in the video. My settings though, I now run my horizontal and vertical sensitivity at 5.5. This is a good medium to fast sensitivity, I would say, and the reason I've now have them both at the same, because I've always recommended maybe putting one lower than the other, is because I found this is what stopped my sticky aim. I don't know whether it was something to do with the coding that meant they were fighting against each other with one being fast and one being slow that made it so difficult, but I no longer have that sticky aim that was so annoying to me previously, and I find 5.5 as a comfortable sensitivity for my hip fire. When we move to my ADS sensitivity, so this is the multiplier that happens when you aim down sight, I have this at 60 and 50. Again, just a reminder, this is 60% of this number, and this is 50% of this number. That's the way it works. If you actually want to know a little bit more in depth about finding your own sensitivity and how these numbers work, there is a video that I'll put in above here in the banner, and I'll also link in the description below, where you can go and find your sensitivity, and I go into a bit more detail about all of these particular settings. Dead zone, I actually have a 0.1 on the left and 0.2 on the right. I've actually boosted this up, not necessarily because of stick drift, but just because of comfortability with the controller for me. It just found it a bit more comfortable on this 0.2 as a slightly higher dead zone. Acceleration boost, I've gone over this again in that video I mentioned, but I have this at 50 and 3 as I always have. I don't really like to mess with this too much. It's not really that impactful. It only matters when you reach your outer dead zone limits, so you're rarely going to come into contact with this setting. ADS mode is hold as opposed to a toggle. My sniper sensitivity, also known as the scope sensitivity for the Aaron and snipers, is at 55 for the horizontal and 45 for the vertical. I do not have either of my axes inverted, and I do play with vibration to the annoyance of many of you. Then my last setting is my reload or interact button, which I have as press to interact and reload. Again, these kind of depend on if you want to hold one of them for a specific task. This rarely comes in with many issues, although sometimes you can accidentally go on a zip line instead of reloading. But if you know how to play the game and you can maneuver, you don't run into that issue as much. But I like this one. It adds for a bit more speedy movement when I'm using my controls. And then obviously gyroscope settings, only necessary if you play with gyro controls on the Switch or PlayStation. My bindings are actually all the default bindings, but this is where I will quickly talk about any sort of adjusted controllers and how you might want to set them up. If you have any paddles, I recommend 2 specifically, but 3 isn't too bad either. The 2 that I would recommend is having roll on one of your paddles, and most importantly, having quick melee on your other paddle. The reason for this is just because that quick melee button on controller on the D-pad is so awkward to hit, and you can get some really clutch moments off with a quick paddle press. Again, I don't use paddles right now. I probably should, but I don't at the moment. But that would be what I recommend if you wanted to use your paddles. The third one that I did mention would be jump if you wanted another one on there. You could also, if you want to extend a fourth or replace one of the ones I mentioned, actually add on a crouch. If you want to improve your spam crouching, it wouldn't be an awful idea to actually add that on there as one of them. I found it particularly awkward to use having crouch on a paddle like that, but I didn't give myself much of a chance to get used to it. It could come in clutch if you wanted to. So there would be my 4 paddle options if you want to use them, but pick and choose as you wish. Gameplay options, now these are things that actually people I think use wrong a lot. 2 that I would always say to do is have quick cast on. I don't see a point of not having quick cast on. I know some players prefer it off, and again, that's your preference. I personally recommend having it on, and auto pickup needs to be on. Picking up equipment that you may not even see is really vital, so having that on is really beneficial to you. Language, whatever you choose. Hold time and double press time, I put the lowest maximum just so that you can, have these inputs going a little bit quicker. When it comes to the HUD, definitely display numbers with a cumulative damage on. What you want to know exactly how much damage you're doing to somebody in an accumulative amount. So instead of seeing 15, 15, 15, 15 for hitting somebody with 4 bullets, you'll see the total 60 that damage encompasses. This can just help with your callouts and things, and I definitely would recommend it. FPS counter, I would say have on if you're on PC. And when it comes to crosshair settings, I run mine on magenta, purely out of preference, and my crosshair height is 7 with the width of 2, and my shotgun is small. Social settings are the last one. I am from Europe, so I usually play on Europe, but I do switch to NA East depending on who I'm playing with and depending on if I want more of a challenge, because NA East tends to have a few more sweatier players, at least in the ranked scene. Then Do Not Disturb I have on or off depending on how much you guys annoy me with spam invites. So then guys, that is the overview of my entire settings that help me with my FPS optimization here on PC, help me with my sensitivity, my crosshair, and all the other things in game that matter that help me slay out the way I do. That will be the end of this video though guys, and if you did enjoy, as always, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. You can come check out my gameplay live on twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING and all my other socials linked in the description below. For now though guys, I do hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless. I'll catch you in the next video.